What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another trade recap. So today, on a Monday, we ended up taking a trade on Sunday in Asia session, and we caught something pretty nice, pretty calm, pretty a good way to start off the week. 2.3K across 5 accounts, so that's just a little over 10K on the day. Refresh the screen, boom, still stays. But yeah, we caught like a pretty good setup. I was just checking Sunday Asia just to do my weekly outlook, and I saw something pretty nice form, so ended up taking it on these accounts. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the trade recap. And by the way, if you aren't already in the free Discord, go ahead and join it. I'll leave it in the description below. But yeah, let's go ahead and break down this trade that I took. So, going into the day, basically, if we go to market replay, go to ES, go to NQ, what do we see right at Asia Sunday Open? We have a new week opening gap right here, as we see right here, right? New week opening gap on both sides. Really, realistically, you want to see this getting filled sometime at the in the week, right? Throughout the week. We just don't know what day it is, but we ended up seeing a setup to fill the new week opening gap. So I ended up taking two trades in Asia. I'll go over both of them. So I'm gonna go ahead, mark out this new week opening gap right here, as you see, right? New week opening gap, boom, very easy to spot this. So what do we see Asia Open do, right? We wake up lower, we create this wick right here, and then we start to trend lower. So that's the first thing that I'm looking at. The second thing that I'm looking at is the 50% mark of this new week opening gap, right? So I'm taking out my fib tool, marking it out, boom, boom, boom. So this would be the 50% mark of this new week opening gap, right? Because in new week opening gaps, they are pretty sensitive and they're pretty like reactive. So price can, dip into it, tap into it, not fully fill it, and then it can just react off of that. So I just want to see if I'm recording. All right, I'm recording, we're good. So yeah, with all that being said, right, playing out price action, what do we end up seeing? Price starts to go lower, and then, well, look what happens right here. All right, we tap into the 50% mark, and then we start to go back higher, right? We start to react off of this. Now, what am I looking at right here, okay? I see this swing high right here. What does it line up with? It lines up with a 15-minute unfilled gap right here. This doesn't end up opening until obviously the next 15-minute candle formation, but we see this V-shaped recovery forming. I see that we're respecting bullish structure right here, right? We are respecting this bullish gap right here. Displacement out of it, and then now I'm more confident in targeting this swing high slash 15-minute unfilled since we're now displacing towards it. So now I want to look for another pullback, right? Because that is a trade that I took. So we end up pulling back into this gap right here, and then we get displacement out of it, as you see, or we get some sort of reaction out of it. So I end up longing off of this close right here. Very, very tight risk, actually. I think it might have been a little bit higher because I was risking 330 bucks on this trade, I think. Yeah, so this is like 330 bucks, I think, and to really make $800 off of this. So it was more of a scalp. I thought I would be done for the day after seeing this because, obviously trade ended up hitting, and we actually ended up continuing a little bit higher off of this as well. So after seeing this, right, we continue higher and then we start to reject. I'm like, okay, what are we rejecting off of? So I go to the higher time frame or mid time frame. I see that we are in this 15-minute gap right here. And what else does it line up with? All right, we have this volume imbalance up above right here as well. I had to get a cough in really quick. All right, volume imbalance right here, as you see, we're rejecting off of it. We are also rejecting off of this gap right here, but I need some sort of additional confirmation in order for me to short down to this area right here. All right. I also look at the 15-minute time frame right here. What do I see? We have this big rejection wick right here off of this new week opening gap. So I am also aware of this big wick right here as well, right? So if you just take out your rectangle and mark out your rejection block, what do we see? 50% of this wick right here, that could be a potential target, right? Because again, just looking at price action currently, we are, not really moving with intent in this case. We're kind of chopping around, right? We move lower, accumulate, move lower, retrace. accumulate, move lower, and basically just not really moving that clear. Doesn't mean you can't take a setup though, right? If something clear appears, I'm going to take the setup. And something clear did end up appearing. So if we end up playing out a few more candles, what do we see between these two areas right here, right? We see a SMT form. So I'm looking at this SMT form right here, okay? I'm looking at this 15-minute rejection block right here. I'm looking at the midpoint of this, and then what am I looking for? Confirmation. So I'm looking for displacement out of this SMT right here, as we see SMT at the highs, and then boom, right? We get displacement out of it. We tap, as soon as we tap into this gap right here and displace out, I'm looking for an entry. And this is my entry off of this close right here. And then I have my stop at the SMT high. And what am I targeting? In this case, I was targeting the midpoint of the rejection block right here, this 15-minute rejection block, just due to the fact that we already tapped into the 50% mark of it, of the new week opening gap. What I've kind of seen price do, like again with market experience, once we've kind of already mitigated that area, this kind of becomes like a protected low or a protected high, whatever it may be, if it's the bullish case scenario or bearish case scenario, bullish, bearish case scenario, whatever it may be. These kind of become the protected areas, right? So these don't end up really becoming swept, especially when you see a reaction, for example, off of, if this loads, off of EQ of some sort of area, right? So I want to be conservative with my TP. In this case, play out some candles. What do we see? Asia ends up opening, and then TP gets hit. Is my mic still on, though? I think my mic's still on, though. Let me see if it's on. All right, it's still on. We're good. But yeah, so that was basically the second trade, right? SMT at the highs, and then displacement, confirmation. And yeah, targeted 35 points, and we are now up 2.3K across 5 accounts. So yeah, very, very solid trade. Very great way to start off this short holiday week. But yeah, guys, that was the trade breakdown, the 2 trade breakdowns that I took. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.